Hey everyone, this is Keith from Gaming Trend and Tabletop Throwdown, and I am here with Rob from White Wizard Games. You may know him from games such as Star Realms and Cthulhu Realms and Epic, of course. But now they just launched a Kickstarter on Monday, and it's doing very well. And this is for their new game, Hero Realms, and we're getting a sneak preview at it right now. So, tell us a little bit about the game here, Rob.
Okay, so Hero Realms is based on the Star Realms engine, so it's a deck building game. If you have played Star Realms, you'll be able to pick this game up super quickly. We started out to design a fantasy version of Star Realms, but we ended up adding a whole bunch of cool stuff that we were excited about in the fantasy genre. So I'll start out talking about the base game, which we have a prototype of here. Like Star Realms, it's a deck builder. You start with a 10-card personal deck. We have down here a mock-up of the personal deck. Now these are mock-ups, so the art isn't as crisp as it'll be on the final cards, but you can get an idea what it'll look like. You have in the standard starting deck, you have 7 gold. These give you money for the game. It works like Scout in Star Realms, so gold is the equivalent of trade. You have 1 ruby, which gives you 2 gold, so you end up having a larger variance in how much gold you have possible in your starting hands. Like Star Realms, the player going first gets a 3-card starting hand, the player going second gets a 5-card starting hand, and you draw up to 5 each turn. So even in the beginning of the game, you have the capacity to get to 6 gold with your starting hands. And then there's 1 dagger, which gives you 1 combat, and a short sword that gives you 2 combat.
Yeah, I already like the fact that you have a variety of cards within the starting hand.
Yeah,
itself.
so there'll be 4 starting decks that come with the base game. You'll for $20 the base game can support up to 4 players. So multiplayer formats like Hydra or Hunter or Free for All, you can play right out of the box with the base game.
Yeah.
Then there's also in the base game you get a big pile of the gem cards. These are always available. There's a little pile of them off the sides. They're like explorers in Star Realms, they give you 2 gold when you play them, and they can be scrapped for 3 combat. The scrapping in this game is actually called sacrificing, so you can sacrifice a gem for 3 combat. And then, like in Star Realms, we have 4 factions. Factions are similar to Star Realms, but they have different things that they're good at. So, first off, we'll start with the Empire. The Empire has a big military. They're highly trained. Think like ancient Rome as far as training and skill. The Imperials like to have lots of troops out. So a lot of their guys will get better when you have more guys in play. So for example, the Man-at-Arms, he's a 4 defense guard. A guard is like an outpost in Star Realms. They protect you and your other non-guard champions. So your opponent will not be able to attack you or your other stuff while you have a guard out. They have to take out the guards first. And he gives you 2 combat plus an additional combat for each other guard you control. So the more guys you have out, the more powerful your Man-at-Arms is. And you'll notice this little sideways symbol here. That is an expend icon. And what that means is when you use a champion in Hero Realms, you turn them sideways and you get the bonus that's listed. This helps you remember you've used this guy, but also there are some effects in the game which will let you prepare him and potentially use him again. For example, on the Domination card, there's an ally ability here which allows you to prepare a champion. So if you had the Man-at-Arms out, you expended him, you got your combat, then you played Domination, you could use your ally ability to prepare your Man-at-Arms, and then you could expend him again and get that bonus a second time.
So do all of your cards after they've been expended to get prepared at the start of your next turn?
Actually, at the end of your turn. So basically,
okay.
when you're doing your cleanup, where you're taking all your non-permanents and that you played that turn and putting them into your discard pile, and you're drawing your new hand of 5 cards, at that time you prepare all of your champions again. So basically, at the end of your turn, everything resets. So they'll be ready to go for your next turn.
So preparing a card is basically like gaining the ability to use a card twice.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, and then we have the guild. This is Hero Realms is set up. The setting for Hero Realms is a trade city that was set up between the Empire and the barbarian nations to the east in an attempt to make peace. And this ended up working really well, and the city has grown to be gigantic and prosperous trade port. So with that prosperity and trade, there came organized crime, and the guild, the blue faction, represents that organized crime. So they are good at getting a lot of money. They're good at acquiring things quickly, like allowing you to buy things directly to your hand or on top of your deck. And they're also good at assassination, taking out champions without spending combat. So, for example, the Death Threat card gives you 1 combat and draws a card, but if you can ally it, you can stun target champion. To stun a champion is to basically to kill them, to put them in the discard pile. That would be like destroying a base in Star Realms. Then we have the Wild Faction. The Wild Faction represents a whole bunch of races and nations. It's basically everything that's to the east of the Empire. So there are savage human tribes. There are orcs. There are elves. There's trolls. All kinds of humanoid and non-humanoid creatures. So the wild cards are good at giving combat. They can have some devastatingly powerful attacks. For example, this Elven Curse only costs 3. It does 6 damage, and if you can ally it, you get an extra 3. So you can be hitting for 9 points of damage with a 3-point card. So clearly, very powerful hitting stuff with in the Wild faction. In addition, Wild is good at making your opponent discard cards, and they're also good at cycling through their own deck. So you'll frequently be able to draw cards and then discard cards. So the Wild is a very hard-hitting faction with some hand control, both for you and against your opponent. And then we have the Necros. These guys are a evil cult, demon-worshipping cult that has grown up in the seedy underbelly of the city, and they do various nasty things like humanoid sacrifices and such, and they have the ability in the game to sacrifice cards, meaning to remove them from your deck so you can improve your later draws by getting rid of your starting cards like your gold and daggers and such. You'll notice that there are a lot of ally abilities that you'll be familiar with from Star Realms. There's also scrap abilities, like in Star Realms. So a Star Realms player will look at this and they'll recognize the mechanics and they'll be able to play right away. However, the factions are different. The speed of acceleration of the game is different, and of course, a different art and different theme. All those things together make a fun, fresh play experience right out of the starting box. Now, there's a lot of cool mechanics and things we wanted to explore in Hero Realms with a fantasy deck builder, and we put those things into our various expansions. So right out of the gate, we're going to have a bunch of different expansions for Hero Realms. There's going to be character packs. Character packs allow you to play the game as a specific character. You could be a fighter or a thief or a wizard or a ranger or a cleric. And when you're playing as one of these classes, it does a bunch of different things for you. One, your starting health will be different depending on your class. Two, your starting deck is different. So instead of having the 7 gold, the dagger, the ruby, and the short sword, you're going to have a different mix of stuff. So, for example, the wizard, in addition to having some gold cards, he's got a magic staff, which gives him combat, but if he has multiple of the action cards out, he gets to draw a card. He's got a cat familiar, which can expend to give gold or combat or health. He's got a couple fire spells, and these work with the staff. So if you have those out, both of those out, and you play your staff, you'll get to draw a card. And the staff also works with the action cards that you'll be buying throughout the course of the game. And he also has spell components, which give him a gold, but it also makes the next action card he buys cost 1 less. So it works as additional money for buying non-champion cards. The characters also each have a minor once per turn ability and a major once per game ability card. So the minor abilities cost gold to activate. So for example, the thief has a pickpocket ability, so she can spend 2 gold and to force an opponent to discard a card while she gains health. She also has a once per game heist ability. Starting on the thief's 3rd turn or later, she can scrap the heist card in order to allow her to purchase a card from her opponent's discard pile as if it was in trade row, so she can literally permanently steal a card from her opponent. And each class has a different minor and major special ability cards. So what you end up with when you combine the different starting health scores, the very different cards in their starting decks, and these different minor and major abilities, the play feels very different for each character. Now, we balance the characters to play against each other. One might have cards in their starting deck which are a little bit better, another might have special abilities that are a little more powerful, but as a whole, these guys are balanced to play against each other and be on an even footing. So you can get character packs and you can do different matchups, like you could do fighter versus wizard or cleric versus ranger, and each of these matchups will feel different, will have different strategies that work for them, and it's a ton of fun to try the play as these different character types. But in addition, you can play cooperatively in the game. So we have something called a campaign starter deck. And this is, think of like a module for a role-playing game. You're going to have various missions which you can play against, and when you're playing against the missions, it's all you and your friends each picking a character, and you're playing cooperatively trying to defeat the game. If you manage to defeat the mission, then everybody gets experience points. And between game sessions, you can spend these experience points to customize and improve your character. So when you start out and you have your starting character deck, this will be like a 0 point no experience version of that character. And as you play, you're going to be gaining experience points, and there's cards in that campaign starter deck which you can buy to improve your character. Some of them will be class specific, so only the fighter's allowed to buy it, for example, and some of them will be generic where anybody can buy them. And some of them will be stuff that is in play from the beginning of the game. They might be new skills, or they might be heavy equipment of some kind, like armor. And then there'll be stuff that will be other things that you can purchase to add to your deck, or cards that you can replace cards in your deck with improved versions. As you play, your characters will become more powerful and also customized to be unique to you. And these, so this campaign deck will allow for cooperative campaigning leveling play. It transforms Hero Realms from a PvP experience to a PvE experience, and we're really excited about all the cool things we can do with that. And then finally, we have boss decks. these are like the character decks, but they're a lot bigger. They're 30 cards, and they represent super powerful monsters in the World of Hero Realms. So the first two we're going to have is a dragon deck and a lich deck. And each of these boss decks will contain a different mix of stuff. Unique to that particular boss. Some of them will have new types of cards. They'll have their own starting decks. They'll have their rules on how powerful the boss is, depending on how many players they're playing against. And so you can play a boss deck versus a group of your friends, each playing their own character, and they can all battle versus the boss. Or you can take two boss decks and play them against each other in a super powerful monster battle. So the boss decks are a lot of fun, and we're also working to incorporate the bosses into the campaign. So if, as part of your campaigning experience, if you wanted to have your party play against the boss, you could do that as well.
Cool. And this is all up on Kickstarter right now.
Yep, everything I just talked about is up on Kickstarter now, and of course, as time continues, we'll be coming out with more stuff, especially more campaigns to continue the storyline and allow you to continue to develop those characters. But for players who aren't interested in the campaign and they just like doing the PvP battles, we'll have new content for those guys too.
Great. And when do you expect this to be released? We know that the Kickstarter has been funded.
Yeah, so our goals are to have stuff out to Kickstarter backers in October, hopefully early October. Our goal for retail is about 2 months later, late November. We want to, or early December, basically, just in time for Christmas for the retail, and then of course we'll have continuing expansions, as time progresses. And the campaign stuff we're targeting to get to the Kickstarter backers as a second shipment in January. So if you're backing at the campaign level, you'll get in October, you'll get shipment number 1, which will have the base game and the character packs, and then in January you'll get shipment number 2, which will have the boss decks and the campaign starter deck. And then the campaign starter deck and the boss decks, looking at probably March for retail.
Great. This is definitely a lot of game, and
it is a lot of game.
Boxes. Yeah. So great.
Yeah, you can see why we broke this one up, because there is so much and so many different things we're doing, and it's targeted at different types of gamers.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. Well, thank you very much for showing it. I can see that while it's based on the Star Realms engine, it looks like it really expands upon that.
Yeah, we start there, and then we do a whole bunch of new and really exciting stuff. So we really love it, and we hope everyone else will too.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.